This is an article in Education Week with their large PLTW ad. Most educators are not using AI. Here's why. Mm-hmm. So I was scrolling through here when I was prepping for our time today, and they talk a little bit about ChatGPT and other artificial intelligence. 2 out of every 3 educators said they haven't used AI in their classrooms. 500 teachers and conducted between November 30th and December, which is kind of early in the school year.
Yeah.
37% said they'd never use them and don't plan to start, which is pretty high. Yeah. 29 say they haven't used them but plan to start. So they talk a little bit about AI literacy and the promotion here. AI experts believe that technology has the potential to transform. We know this. Many teachers are unfamiliar and uncomfortable. So I'm going to go through these real quickly. Then I kind of want your take, as a whole on this whole thing. Teachers have other pressing issues. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep going, then come back to this, I think. That's a lot of data. They lack the knowledge and support.
We talked about that, right?
Yep.
The support.
Teachers are concerned about students learning to think for themselves and do original work.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. So those are the big 3. Teachers are concerned about students doing original work. They don't have the support, and
they have other things to do.
They
don't have time. I would say that is like they don't have time.
So, just quickly looking at the data here, 46% haven't explored the tool. They have other priorities. 36, very high. I don't know how to use them. My district hasn't outlined a policy, which kind of relates. I feel like these two are the same. On the same mentality. I know something about using these tools, but I'm not sure. I'm surprised that one's so high, actually, because I feel like once you start to use them, it kind of is a no-brainer, at least from the workflow and the teacher side. It's very easy to incorporate using them. I'm not sure where to find these. That's very high. 30% of teachers don't know where to find them. That's, I'm guessing, an age or digital literacy gap in technology. I have data privacy security concerns. I think that's a natural kind of concern. I don't understand how it works, 22%, but that wouldn't necessarily be a reason to not use it. I don't think technology is applicable to my subject matter or grade. That is way too high. 20%, because I feel like everyone should be able to see some level of application of technology. I don't believe the technology is appropriate for K-12 setting because it can be used for cheating. That's very high. I cannot afford low, should be low. Our tech infrastructure is too old. No. My district school and our supervisor has banned the use, 2%. So thoughts, Natalia, what do you think of this?
It's not new, artificial intelligence, but it is. How long has it been?
ChatGPT was a year in December.
Year ago. We are still at the beginning of this, don't you think?
Yes.
That's why people are just skeptical still.
But it's also the speed that everyone else knows it's moving at.
Yeah.
That's frightening. And that's why I kind of found this article intriguing, because to me, it's definitely part of that divide. Would you say that the divide that we see here with teachers adapting? So most of these reasons, honestly, when I look at them, is about adaptability or understanding, right?
It's a learning curve that many people are not willing
to do.
They are just.
Why?
Well, I guess some people are interested in technology, and those are others. They need to be taught. People don't know where to find these tools. for example. Just Google it. If you Google, you will find them, right?
So what's
So there's a
the
lack of interest at all.
but what's the difference? Because like the question I was going to ask you before I just said the one I did was actually do you think the divide here, we've talked about, the divide of devices and instruction with educational technology with students, even in Latam versus United States and access and devices. We know there's going to be an AI divide, right? Because obviously there's a teacher divide right now in terms of adapting to the use of the tools. That's going to create a student divide. Because
don't you think it happened when the mobile phone became a permanent thing in the classroom? Some teachers were completely, they wouldn't let their students even touch it, they even have it.
Right.
Others said, well, I might as well turn it into a tool. So they use it, but for something that, yeah.
So but what I'm learning through this experience, looking at like, the one-to-one programs we've talked about, and now AI and digital divide, devices, now there's a learning divide, right? History is repeating itself, except now we have something new that's going to create a division. Do you see, what do you see as kind of like, to me, when I see this, here's another divide. We need to like close the divide as much as we can. Now, part of this is I see, they haven't had time, but part of the demand is that it's moving so quickly.
Yeah.
Devices didn't move this quickly. Like when one-to-one programs were growing, like, we knew the necessity for students to have the technology and the connections, but the instruction with the technology was the last thing on people's lists in some ways, to make sure that was at the highest level possible. And that instruction and use of the technology has a credible demand on thinking and learning and thinking about how to use it appropriately, right, in the classroom. AI is the same way. And if you don't think about how to use it appropriately, you aren't even going to use it. So there's this tremendous, would you say that, to me, the problem with that is the AI, if you don't use the AI uses you.
Yes, right. Learn to master it until it masters you. It takes over you.
So that's to me a big problem.
Yeah, but some people do need that extra the convincing. They need to be convinced. So that's where these trainers and people who like to communicate really well.
What will convince teachers? What will convince this 50% of teachers?
Some people are really, are convincing, but you need to just hit the spot of the person. Like, they are right. I mean, it's not going to be easy.
They need to lose something. People need to lose something to be convinced, usually.
Right.
Whether it's
time. I would say time could be, this thing can really, really save you time if you start by that.
But I also think there's going to be a huge, business is going to show us, there's going to be something with business and money and economics that is going to, and hopefully it doesn't hit education first. Hopefully it hurts someone's friend who worked in a field as a writer for something and their job is gone. I'd hate to make the revelation, but like, I remember like when we would have a tragedy in my school growing up, or someone, maybe someone had to come and speak about a disease. Like, the person would come in and we'd all sit in the gymnasium and the person would speak. Like, people will need to, I lost my job to AI, like explain it to people. I don't have it anymore, because I prepared for a career that could be easily. I didn't think at the time that my career was going to be so easily replaced. Like, until people, I just think people are going to have to see that, unfortunately, before they make a shift. That's what this data says to me, because I know this data very well from integrating technology into classrooms. Like this is the same level of teacher who like, or lower, like you could basically replace, I have not explored educational technology tools because I have other things to do. I've seen that, you know what I mean? Basically AI and ed tech, they're going to share the same indoctrination into this field. And I feel like the only thing, the pandemic progressed ed tech, one-to-one programs progressed it. So it'll be interesting to see. What do you think it'll be? What do you think will be the breaking point for people?
That could be bad news. When they get bad news, that could be a breaking point. Someone they know being affected. And when someone close to you is affected, that makes you maybe open your eyes. Okay.
The same with like cybersecurity too, you know, until someone else has
someone close to you, because when you read it in the news and like something happened and you don't feel it's ever going to.
Are we going to hang on to this too much? Students need to think on their own.
I think about it.
But are we going to hang up? When I say think, I know it's super important to support critical thinking and independent thinking. That saying that is different than think and complete tasks on their own. Like
maybe we should change the tasks.
Right. And also change the expectation for students with the tasks.
Yeah.
You know,
the same, I mean, asking them to do something that can easily be done by AI, it's maybe not the point anymore.
And I'm worried that we don't have, and maybe this is something I would love to be able to do this, and maybe someone's doing this already. I mean, like to me, if I said to a teacher, think and write tasks on their own, like that's great, but are we writing instructional objectives that leave room for the level of interpretation that these new types of tools will bring? You know what I mean? Like, I think that's, but because I'm not